So this is part 2 of God is Real. This part is specifically on detaching. And Sophia has awoken. Sophia, say good morning.
Good morning.
How old are you, Sophia?
3 years old.
3 years old? That's awesome. And she's a wonderful 3-year-old. Rather than to force her to be quiet while I make the video, I figured I'd just invite her to sit here. All right. So, part 2, this is entitled A Brief Lesson on Detaching. And when I was making my, as I mentioned in the last video, that was my 3rd time trying to post a video. The first video and the second video, they failed to process and then they got deleted somehow. So I had to, try the 3rd time. It still hasn't uploaded, but I pray that that one will go ahead and upload. But as I had mentioned in the first 2 videos, some people say, oh, well, why didn't you just leave the relationship or something like that? And I was thinking, like, Lord, how can I explain this to them? And what came to me, well, first of all, let me just say I was in that relationship from roughly 2002 to 2011, through 2011, or some point up into 2011. So it's like a 10-year period. Don't do that. It was like a 10-year period. And at that time, I was only 23 years old. I was only 23 years old. So it was about 37 to 40% of my life that I had been in that relationship. So I said, Lord, how can I explain them to this? And what came to me was bubblegum. If I'm talking and a piece of bubblegum fall out of my mouth and it get my hair, well, I'll probably just be able to pick that bubblegum up and throw the bubblegum in the trash because it's just on top of there. It's on it, but it's just on top of it. Well, if I'm asleep and I fall asleep with some bubblegum in my mouth and that bubblegum get in my hair and then it start getting all matted in my hair and twisted and entangled in my hair, then that bubblegum going to be more difficult to get out. I'm going to have to try to get some ice to stiffen it and pull it out. I'm probably going to have to get some scissors to cut some of it out. I'm going to have to do something. It's not going to be as simple as just getting a piece of fresh bubble gum that just fell in my hair out of my hair. It's going to be a more complicated process once it starts to get tangled in there. And that's how I was in that relationship. I was entangled in that relationship.
Well, excuse me.
1 minute, Sophia. And then the fact with, I was also kind of like, I wasn't spiritually awakened in that relationship. I was sleepwalking in that relationship. So that's my metaphor with the bubble gum and how I was entangled in the relationship. But what did you want to say, Sophia?
So these are my questions. How do we read about the Bible, Mom? About not to man and about not to woman.
Let's save that for another video, okay?
No.
Yes, Mommy has a goal with this video, so we'll save that for another one. You just be sweet and listen, okay?
Fine.
Oh, don't get upset. You'll get another opportunity. You want everybody to see you crying and upset?
I need to talk.
You gonna be patient for me? Okay, thank you. All right, so a brief lesson on detaching. And this is in my book as well. My book, by the way, is called From Pain to Peace and Power. It's a long ways from finished. I've only finished the first 2 chapters. It was probably, they'll probably be the most difficult chapters for me. But something in my spirit just said, don't wait to get the book published to start giving testimony. So I said, today I see people bending over backwards to help people who don't want to help themselves yet. How many of you can recall a time in life when you were so high and mighty that no one could tell you what to do because you thought you knew it all, or you just had not learned to care? How many of you can also remember another time in life where you were so low that it didn't matter whose hand was reaching out to lift you up? You were happy to receive the help that you knew you needed. Proverbs 29:23 says, pride ends in humiliation, while humility brings honor. Just as pain brings about a cycle in which one can find peace and then power, pride brings about a cycle in which one can find humiliation and then honor. So, for example, when I was in my pain, I had to get to the point where that pain, it was just overwhelming, and I finally just found peace in it, which was the fact that, okay, I got all these fears about how this situation can end. Yes, I've made some bad decisions about it, but I'm in it, and I got to get out, and I can't keep doing what I've been doing. I got to try something else. So that was the peace in it. It wasn't like I won a victory, but it was like I accepted it for what it was. I was ready to do something new. Now, the power came once I implemented what I knew I needed to do. Once I implemented it and stuck with it. So now I'm at that point of power. I'm over it. And the pride, I put pride brings about a cycle in which one can find humiliation and then honor. Well, when you too prideful, when you like, oh, well, I don't need no help or whatever, you eventually get to that point where you like, oh, I should have accepted that help. But then once you get to that point where you like that humiliating point where it's like, oh, I guess I did need help, or I should have accepted the help, then hopefully you won't be too proud to go back and ask for the help. And then you can get to the point of being exalted. You can get to your point of power being over that situation. So those are the cycles. I said sometimes we can interfere with the growth process of others and as a result prolong stagnation. Where there is a thin line, I have found the divide. Today, I can sum that divide up for you with the aid of a few scriptures. So 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 6 through 9. This is the NLT. It says, I planted the seed in your hearts, and Apollos watered it, but it was God who made it grow. It's not important who does the planting or who does the watering. What's important is that God makes the seed grow. So in other words, well, I'll get to it later. The next verse is Ezekiel 33, 3 through 5, and it says, when the watchman sees the enemy coming, he sounds the alarm to warn the people. Then if those who hear the alarm refuse to take action, it is their own fault if they die. They heard the alarm but ignored it, so the responsibility is theirs. If they had listened to the warning, they could have saved their lives. So in 1 Corinthians 3, 6 through 9, Paul was explaining to the people that we all have been given special roles, but it is ultimately God who provides the increase. So if my role is to be an encourager, then surely I should plant a seed of encouragement. Patience, okay?
I want ice cream.
Okay, not while I'm making the video though, all right? So if my special role is encouragement, surely I should plant a seed of encouragement, but I have to allow God by way of other people to water that seed and allow it to grow. So my job is encouragement. My job is not to watch it and to make sure other people come along and do X, Y, Z. I just need to play my part. And so I put one time I had a friend who was trying to encourage me to implement a variety of very helpful habits in life. Helpful habits, doing a good deed. I wasn't catching on as quickly as they thought I should, and I felt like the encouragement was turning into badgering sometimes. One day I finally said, I get it. You have shared some very helpful things with me, and I have heard you, and I am working on them. However, you have to allow me some space to grow. I feel as though you planted this seed and it's being watered, but you're standing over me and wondering why the seed isn't growing. You're standing in my light. Back away and allow the light to shine on my seed so it can grow. Sometimes we can become attached to things we expend our energy on instead of moving away and allowing growth to take place organically. We think we have to always labor to see the growth.
Isn't my turn to talk yet?
I'll let you know, okay? In Ezekiel 33, 3 through 5, we see this similar scenario. A watchman who is given the special role of warning the people that the enemy is coming. In executing the role of giving the warning, the watchman has fulfilled his or her special role. If they say, hey, the enemy is coming, you need to get ready, get out of here, they gave the warning. The role is not to warn and ensure the people take heed. The task is simply to give the warning. In giving the warning, the watchman has relieved himself of responsibility for whatever should take place next. Here, we can clearly see the thin line or the divide of doing our due diligence. As the popular saying goes, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. We can warn people on the detriments of their actions to their well-being and want the best for them, but ultimately, it's up to that individual to want the best for themselves and to change their path if they're on a dangerous path. Think about it in this situation. If my job is to warn the people that the enemy is coming, let's say I warn them, right? But let's say I'm also staying there to make sure all the stragglers are getting out. Well, guess what? I'm putting myself in harm's danger because if the enemy coming, I need to be getting out of there too. So, now I have learned to stay in my lane. If my lane is encouragement, I encourage, but do not worry myself with enforcing or ensuring growth. In my lane, there is provision. Outside of my lane, I am in harm's way. Now, if you are a parent or custodian of young minds, unfortunately, your special role is not as easy. As parents, we know we also have been given the special role of discipline. Our children are still being molded and need guidance along the way. We are responsible for not just warning them, but enforcing and correcting them as well. We have to be very wise and methodical with giving them space to grow, but not giving them so much space that they wander aimlessly and are neglected. So that's my little thing on detachment. I think oftentimes, we suffer pain not so much because we're doing something that is terrible, but sometimes because our loved ones around us are, kind of dependent on us, and maybe we're enabling their behavior because we think that their success is our responsibility. Yeah, we're supposed to love them and encourage them, but sometimes that may look like just saying a prayer for them. Sometimes that may look like just sending them an encouraging message every now and then, because just like God's grace is sufficient for us, and our weakness, his power is perfected, it's the same for them too. And if they never get to that weakness because you always giving them a crutch, or you always giving them a hand, or you always giving them support, then really we're prolonging their process until their God's power can be perfected in their weakness. So if that sounds relevant to you, if it sounds like
just like I told your Bible.
If it sounds relevant to you, then pray on it and see what God would have you to do. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not to thy own understanding, but in all of thy ways acknowledge God, and he shall direct your path. God bless you.